Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. What I'm going to do today is start you learning a new time signature, which you probably has never run into, but it's there. Occasionally you see it, you don't see it too often, but it's not hard to master. But the timing is a little different. So with this timing signature, you have 4/4. You've got 4 beats to the measure. You have got the quarter note getting 1 beat, and so if I'm to count this out, this is going to be a half rest, so that's going to be 2 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 2 half notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is time is held on to the half note of the next measure. So you don't tongue that. When you play that note, you play the 2 beats and hold it over and play the next 2 beats. So you're really playing 4 beats instead of 2 because there's a tie there. And then you tongue these. Well, there is, if this is 2 beats in this measure, then you've got 3 eighth notes and you've got another 2 beats. How do you do it? Well, what you have to do is you have to spread these notes so they cover the 2 beats. And they do it, and it sounds all right, but it's a little different timing. You can't say 1, 2, and then say, 1 and 2 for the other 4, because you're going to be an eighth note short. So what I want to do, this is a hymn. I didn't write it. It's a nice hymn, and I just want to play that, and you'll hear how I do it. If you count along in your mind as I'm playing it, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 3 beats, these 3 notes, which are eighth notes, written as eighth notes, they cover 2 beats, not 1 beat. If it was a triplet, it would be covering 1 beat, and that would be a 3rd beat, but you'd still come up 1 beat short. And so what you do is you spread out the notes and you cover 2 beats with 3 notes. Now it's a little unusual. It is a very pretty hymn, and I'm going to play it. It doesn't go very fast, you know, but it's a nice hymn, and I'm just going to play it, or at least play part of it, so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start out, and we'll play it. When I get to this measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, I stretch those notes. They're eighth notes, but I stretch those notes so they're going to cover 2 beats. If I don't, I'm either going to be too short or I'm going to make the measure too long. So I'll be going. And it makes sense when you listen to it because it sounds right. When I'm playing the F, and I didn't put a B flat in, but except here. So there's your B flat, and there's your B flat there. They're accidentals. So I'm going to go from this A to this G to this B flat, and I'm going to finger it if you just want to look at my fingers. A, and then G, and then the B flat, I'm playing like this. Now B is this fingering. I can flat it by doing this, just skipping the next note and putting the 3rd finger down. That will flatten that B, but I'm adding 2 more fingers to make it a little bit flatter, which makes the note a little bit more accurate. Can you see when I put this finger down, I'm going to get the B flat. I add these 2 fingers, and that makes it a little bit flatter. Just a little bit, but it's enough to make it a little bit more accurate. And then so that becomes the F. So I go from that A, G, and I get to this F. The B flat was like this, and then there's an A right behind it, and then there's the G right here, where the G is just these three fingers, B-A-G. And so to get that F, normally with a German finger, you just put that down. But what I do is I add that down, and that just makes it a little bit flatter. But what I'm trying to get to here is a time signature, and these three notes filling out 2 beats. And that's the way it's done. You just spread it out. And it's not hard to do. You kind of have to have a sense of rhythm to be able to do it, because you're just adding something, you're just stretching something. And the whole song is like that. You know, I have it right here, A to the B flat to the C, it's the same thing. And down here, it's the same thing. And it is, I haven't seen the original, the way the original hymn was written. I should, I suppose, check it. But in terms of writing it, it fits very well to do that, just to do that 3-on-2. So the 3-on-2 means you take the 3 notes and you make it into 2 beats instead of 1.5 or 4 beats, or 1 and 2 and miss a half and miss an eighth. You just do that, and you do that every time. There's no marking on top of it. If there was a marking on top of it, it might say 3, which would be a triplet or whatever. And so the whole song is like that. And that is a hymn. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it, but that shows you what 3-on-2 is like. Once in a while, when you're reading music, what I think you should do is you should look at the timing and look and see what it is. You might find something unusual. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or something seems to be missing. If something seems to be missing, like a half a beat or an eighth note or something, you can check and see if that's a 3-on-2 measure, because if it is, you would just stretch the note a little to make it fit. And actually, that is a very nice hymn. Now, there is something else that I want to show you. This chart. Okay, actually I have 2 charts to show you. So I'm going to show you this chart, and we get that set up. I do my own charts because I can't buy anything, close to what I want. This is almost a full-scale keyboard. A keyboard or a piano has 88 keys. This is lacking 2 keys, but the 2 keys it's lacking is on this end. And I don't have to worry about that, because we're not getting down there. That's the bass clef. But what I want you to see is all of these notes. This is the treble clef right here. This is your middle C, which is the low C on woodwinds, as I've said before, because most of them can't get lower than that. And this would be the mid-range C, which is on the 3rd space up. And this is the high C, and this is the C above high C. The C above high C is what the flutes can play, the regular flutes. Most of the woodwind instruments don't get far above that high C. Now, the saxophone can go up to the F, but the high C is where most of the woodwind instruments stop, except for the flutes. They can go higher. The saxophones can go a little higher. This comes to be the C above high C, and then beyond that, there is another octave. The pianos can play it. Only the pianos can play it. No other instruments can play it. And they never write for it. It's never written because you'd have to add so many more ledger lines. It would be like sticking up here someplace and then going above and beyond that. It would be much too difficult to read it. So what they do is the 8 VA. They put an 8 VA, and I've got it right here. That means play this octave an octave higher than it's written. Then you get up to where the piano is playing. The instruments can't do it, but the piano can. And the way that it's written is that you get to the top here. The 8 VA means go an octave higher, play these notes an octave higher, which the piano can do. So that's it. Now, what these ledger lines are, they're like shortened staff lines. If you have staff lines, like these are regular staff lines, you could draw all of these ledger lines as staff lines and go right across the whole staff, and you'd have a staff that would be way too many lines. So what I did, now I've shown you this once before, but I wanted to review it. Here we are. I'm going to show this chart now, and good, that's very good. This would be the middle C right here, and that's going to be the same as this middle C right here, which is halfway between the treble and the clef, the treble and the bass clef. And then this mid C is going to be this one right here. Then this is going to be the high C, which is going to be this one right here, where I have my finger, and then this is going to be the C above high C, which flutes can get, and only flutes, and that's going to be right here. This is it, the C above high C. And then you go beyond and you get to the 8 VA, which is just, just playing all of this note here an octave higher. But you couldn't read it. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, what I have on the bottom is a staff line. This is the middle C right here. This is the C that would be between the treble and the bass clef. You can see there's one line through it. I just made it a little thicker so you could see it. And this would be the mid-range C, and this would be the high C, and this would be the C above high C, and this would be the range of the 8 VA. It would be so thick. That staff would be so thick, it would have so many lines to it that would be impossible to read it for music. So I just wanted to show you the ledger lines are like shortened staff lines, and they're just amazing to see them, what they stand for, and you could draw lines right across, but nobody ever does because you can't read them. There's just plain too much. I wanted to show you all of the range of the notes, high and low, because there are so many of them. You go to the bass clef, which is going to be this middle C again, is going to be the first note of the bass clef, as well as the lowest note of the treble clef. And it goes all the way down here. Those are all ledger lines. They could be drawn right across as well, and you'd have the same situation of way too many lines. I wanted to show it to you once again so you would be able to see the range of the notes. Now the woodwinds play from here basically to here. And the smaller ones, the tonettes, flutophones, song flutes, and so forth, play to about here. They're usually a 1 octave range, maybe 1 note above. I can usually squeeze out 1 note above. And then the melodicas and the ocarinas, penny whistles, recorders, and so forth can get to that range right here. The recorders can do that. The flute can do up to this range right here, but then the range beyond it can't do, only the pianos can do. So there is a wide range of notes that you can get on these instruments. And even though the little recorder only has 2 octaves, you see these octaves are repeated. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So what happens is that you repeat the octaves over and over again, higher and lower. So even if you have an instrument that only plays in 1 octave range, you have a lot of music that you can play because you're either going higher an octave or a lower octave, but all of the notes are just repeated in different octaves. And that's how you get such an extensive range of notes. Now, the reason I wanted to show that to you is I wanted to show, as I'm showing you the timing, oh, by the way, I also want to correct a mistake that I made in the last segment. Okay, so I just want to show this because it was a mistake that I made. And this right here which is timing. I was going into the 6/8 timing. I was thinking of 8 instead of 6. 6/8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You wouldn't have those last two. I was thinking of 8 when I wrote that down. But anyway, 6/8 is 6 beats to a measure, and the 8th note gets 1 beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and if I wanted to time it that way, but it's 6 beats to the measure, so 8th notes get 1 beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wrote the 2 extra, so that was a mistake on my part. So now what I want to do, I'm going to start playing music, and I'm going to show you, if you play music, you can mix all these different times together that I have been showing. So we've been talking about triplets. We've been talking about 3 on 2. We've been talking about whole notes, half notes, 8th notes, 16th notes. So what I have started to do is to write music and include the various types of timing in them. So this is a song that I wrote, and it's basically triplets and dotted 8ths and 16ths, and quarters. Quarter note. This is a triplet, 3 notes to a beat. Those are the triplets. This is a dotted 8th and 16th, and that is 1 whole beat. And that pattern kind of repeats itself throughout the whole song. This is not meant to be played fast, but I could if I wanted to. I haven't made any decision in terms of how fast I want it. So if you can follow along as I play it, it's just going to be different timing together to make a song. And what you can do is take different segments and dotted 8ths and 16ths and various types of timing that I've showed you, the 4 patterns, the 3 patterns of triplets, the 4 patterns of 16th notes to get to a 4-beat measure, and just put it all together to make music with it. So I'll play this and then I'll have to close with it because we really are pretty much out of time. So just try to follow along as I play the notes, and it'll be a song which I wrote very recently. On the last note, I put a little staccato. That is called a stinger. If I want to make a march out of this, a lot of marches have stinger. It's like a staccato note, so you make the note short. What if I wanted to do it really fast? So timing is a matter of what you want to give it if you're writing. So this, I just wanted to show the triplets and the dotted 8ths and 16ths and quarter notes and 8th notes together, put together to make a song. And I remember the last segment I talked about getting different denominations, in a sense, different groups of timings, put it together to make a song. As long as you have the right number of beats to the measure, you can pretty much write anything you want. So when I'm doing, like, for example, this measure here, 1, 2, 3, that's a triplet, so that's 1 beat. And then you have the 4th beat is a dotted 8th and 16th, which is 1 beat. And then you go to the whole note, which is 4 beats, which it's supposed to be. And then I do the same thing pretty much all the way through the song. When you get here, I don't do the more fancy stuff, but 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the last measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that fourth beat is shortened because it's got a staccato on it called a stinger, but it's counted the same. The note is shorter, but the timing is the same. So you can take notes of various timing and put it together and make songs out of it. And I did before when I talked about the spacing of the notes and how you can make songs from the spacing of the notes. So we're continuing on that, and we will continue on music that I will have written to show how the timing works and how you can put different types of timing together and get songs out of it. So we'll close it here. Please join me next time.